Hello.
Hi. Hey, how are you doing?
How are you?
I'm doing all right. Thank you so much. Yeah.
I was talking about last time we were talking. It was a very long talk. I don't know how much time, but it was a lot, and it was very comfortable. Like the last one I've been talking, I've been having with Elise, and now let's see if we can have another one. Maybe a little bit shorter because we don't have enough time, but I hope to that it's so comfortable like the last time.
Yeah. I'll try to not diverge too much. Yeah.
Don't worry. You express yourself as you want. You're free to talk and to do whatever you want.
All right. All right.
So last time we talked was something like 6 months ago. What had you been doing during this time?
So I think by that time, Tales from 6 Feet Under, the compilation record, was just about to be released, which was very exciting because it was. I guess it was my first solo effort, and then also extremely solo in this case because all of the songs were basically recorded and produced right here in this little basement right here. So I was very excited to see how it would be received, um, and I mean, it went down well. Like I'm very pleased with the responses that I've had to it. And I actually since then, I'm still, because that record came into existence because I was doing like a song every month on Patreon, and then I made a collection of them. I'm still releasing a song every month on Patreon, so that is still going, and that is still. I mean, it's still a bit of a workload to obviously to put out a song every month, so that's taking up quite a bit of my time. But at the same time, I'm also thinking over the last past months and also going into the future, like bringing the live element back to the music. And I've actually announced my first show under my own name like 3 weeks ago as well, which is going to happen way in October. So I'll still have a little bit to prepare. Um, but yeah, good things are happening. I'm just keeping myself busy making a lot of music. Recorded some videos, which is exciting, and then yeah, I think the live show is really, because it's a big venue too, and I've got to fill it. So that's one that's on my mind. That's one that's on my mind a lot. Yeah.
So you have to buy the tickets for the show because it's a very big venue. So you have to do it as soon as possible.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and that with that way of working, releasing one song per month, are you happy in that way of working now?
It's starting to get to a point where I feel like I must also find space to do some long-term projects. Because when I started doing this, obviously I started in 2020. I was still in the lane as well, and we were putting out music kind of the traditional way, where you write a song and you rewrite it and you go over it with a team of people. And um, it was a way of writing that was very spun out, which is good, because often, a song gets better also when you rewrite it and, when you rearrange it. So I like that, but I kind of wanted something else to balance it, which was, kind of this spontaneous way of writing where you feel like, okay, I write a song and I put it out the next day. That was something that I was really looking for in balance.
Yep.
Um, Now, obviously, I don't do the long-term thing anymore, and I just do the song every month. So what I feel now is I am looking for a way to within this structure of doing the Patreon, which has been an absolute lifesaver over the last 2 years. To within kind of that framework, also have space to do long-term projects again. Like I'm still really happy with the song of the month, but I also want to write songs that basically take more than a month to develop. So now I'm kind of, because at this point I'm kind of going deadline to deadline. and I'm trying to see if I can find a way to have a little bit more space in that. Maybe write a few songs at the same time, so I don't have that deadline every month. So I also have some breathing room to spend some more time on several things. That is kind of where I'm at this moment. Like, how am I going to make this a long-term thing without, you know, and not just running deadline to deadline. That's basically the thing.
Okay, so when you say long-term project, you're talking about your own project, Charlotte Wessels, or maybe with another band?
No, it could be both, but I'm now thinking just from my own, but basically just a project where you do have the time to actually go in and replace all the programmed drums with actual drums, where you replace the programmed guitars with actual guitars. I actually did that for the last song of the month, where Timo Somers he played the guitars, so that was great to have that more organic approach to it. It was also because it was like a really small song, so it was basically just guitars and vocals and then some synth strings. Um, but no, it's basically just doing what I'm doing now, but then allowing the songs to breathe a little bit more, maybe rewrite them, rearrange them, and actually replace some of the elements that I do in here with elements that may be recorded in like another studio. In a way that takes a little bit more time, that I'm not really allowed, or it's not really possible to do that every month, you know?
Yeah, and you want to make that balance between the song of the month and a
Yeah.
long-term project, but where will you find the time for all that thing? Because as you told me, you've been very busy.
Yeah, and I guess that is the biggest challenge. And if I could tell you now, like exactly how I'm going to do that, that would be great, because that means that I have a solution. Like, I'm trying different things. For example, I really try to prioritize the songwriting. So a few weeks ago, I basically locked myself up in a little cabin in the woods somewhere, just to write and to be in a kind of a different setting with, less distractions uh, from other things. And that really got me, without feeling pressured, like, oh, now I have to do those things. Just being in those different surroundings, like, I got so much inspiration, and I went out to walk in the forest every day, and I took like a little notebook and a little recorder with me. And then I had I did have like my full setup in like the little cabin. So I would just go out and be outside in the cold with the forest, and I would have ideas, and then I would come back to the cabin and I would record them, and I would start like little arrangements. And I think like that, things like that, just, really prioritizing it, um, that could help, but we'll see. We'll see.
So when I've been listening to you, what I feel is like, do you feel that you're lucky because you can go to a cabin in the forest for a week
Do.
and I mean it's like a dream. I wish to go
Yeah.
when I need inspiration for my work or when I'm doing music, to do something like that, you know?
Yeah, I feel like I'm extremely privileged to be able to do that, not only in terms of the fact that I can kind of make my own schedules, but also just financially, this is something that I absolutely couldn't do if it wasn't for the Patreon. So yeah, when I say that, it's been a lifesaver over the last 2 years, I really mean that. I'm really grateful for it. And sometimes people tell me like, oh man, doing a song every month, wow, that sounds exhausting. But I was like, yeah, but it's literally the thing that has kept me being like a full-time musician over the last 2 years. Like, a pandemic hit, my band broke up, and I'm still able to do this every day. And it's if I didn't have that uh, emotional, mental, and financial support from the Patreon, I don't know how I would have done it. Maybe I would have found a way, but I cannot think how I would have done that. So I feel extremely privileged to be able to do that, to make my own hours. On the other hand, like I do basically work 7 days a week and into the night often. So maybe at one point I should take a break as well. But it's, you know, it is a balance. I'm very grateful to be able to do this. So I just want to give it my best as well. That's like, yeah.
And a part of the economical side of the Patreon stuff, how important is for you that emotional part of the Patreon? Because I don't know Patreon. I know more or less how it works, but I don't know about it. How do you feel that emotional side of that platform?
I think one of the reasons that I wanted to do a Patreon rather than, you can go different directions if you want to make music and you need funds for it. Like you can do different things, you can try with a label, or you can do like a crowdfunding to a project, or you can do something which is subscription based, like a Patreon. But there's several platforms that do things like that. And I think the very thing that drew me to Patreon is the fact that it's not like a one-time investment, like, if you pay this, you get this CD, but that it is really geared towards kind of this long-term. And relationship sounds heavy, but it's like a long-term connection to the people who support your work. You keep them up to date about the things that you do. They keep me up to date about the things that they do. It's really one of the things that, because I have been following a lot of people on Patreon before I started one, most notably Amanda Palmer's, who I've been a big fan of since she was with the Dresden Dolls. And I saw this kind of community on her page, and I was like, that's something that I would love as well, to not just have, to have something that's I think the biggest difference is that it's not just about me, they form a group as well. They do things apart from me as well, like they organize things that I'm not even a part of. I like this idea that it's kind of bigger than just what I'm putting out there, but that it's really like a back and forth. And emotionally, like, it's been a challenging years, multiple actually. And I feel like there's been a lot of moments where the support just really shone through, also at moments where I maybe didn't expect it enough. Like I wasn't sure whether that was going to happen, and it surprised me every time, like how just how loyal this fan base is. And I don't want to disappoint that,
Yeah.
it's very important to me.
And have you met some of of your patrons? I don't know how to call them, but have you know some of them physically, or just
And I think
behind the
that a
screen?
lot of them, no, I think a lot of them I met before I started the Patreon even, because a lot of them are also the people that you meet along the way. By now, there are people who say like, hey, I heard your song came by on Spotify and now I'm supporting, or I heard your song on YouTube. But I think in the beginning, a lot of people were maybe just a Delane fans, or, people that you've met. So I do know a lot of faces. It would be really cool, once measures are really lifted, to also be able to host things for patrons, and to to have actual get-togethers. But yeah, we haven't been able to do that, obviously, in the last 2 years. So
Yes.
some of them are just to the screen, but a lot of them I've met along the way in the past years already. Yeah.
And have you thought about some other platforms, for example, like Twitch? Because Christina is online on Twitch every week, and maybe it could be a good way to increase your community, you know?
Yeah, it could be. Honestly, like at this point, like I do the Patreon and I do a stream on Patreon through Crowdcast.
Okay.
And I do one live stream every month for patrons. And I absolutely love it. Like it kind of feels like the moment where you really get together and connect, you know? Um, but I wouldn't want to do more because uh, I get so hyped up for those things. um, it's yeah, and I always prepare like a couple of songs to play live, um, and I just don't have like I feel like the main thing that I'm doing is just producing that song every month. I wouldn't know how I would have the time to do, you know, 3 extra live streams on top of that. And also, I feel like I've kind of chosen my platform, you know, and this platform works well for me.
Mhm.
So I wouldn't know what I would do on Twitch. Just like, hi. Yeah, especially because with people from within the Patreon, it's like different because you can talk about all these plans that you have and the things that you're working on that other people, you know, maybe don't know about yet. Yeah. So this is nothing against Twitch or something, but it's like now that I'm doing this one thing, I cannot do the other thing as well because it would just be too much. But yeah, Patreon has a similar thing integrated, which is, you know, the crowdcast streams, and I do those once every month, and sometimes 2 times a month if there are special things to celebrate or something. But yeah, so but I think that it's great in general that there are a lot of these platforms now like Twitch, like Crowdcast, like Patreon, like you know all of the crowdfunding platforms out there, because I do feel that I have nothing against labels and the work that they do. Like I don't want this to be like a, but I think that it's great that musicians, artists in general have more options to find the thing that works for them, and instead of being like, I want to be a musician, so I have to do this and this and this thing, you can think like, okay, what do I want to do? And then kind of pick the platform that works best with what you naturally want to do. So if you want to stream every week or every day, you know, it's easy. You go to Twitch, or you go to like YouTube has a member thing too now. It's like there's many options. And for me, like if you know I want to do a song every month, then you know kind of the monthly subscription thing makes sense. And it's like I like the thing. I like the fact that that creatives can kind of, you know, take back their power, and instead of being like, "Yeah, I want to be an artist, so I have to do this," they can be like, "This is what I'm already doing. What fits best for me, and what will be best for the fans as well." Because in a lot of um, these days, I think that a lot of people also know, you know, what kind of payouts artists get from Spotify, for example. And uh, I always feel so it's so nice. But there's a lot of people who just ask you like, "Hey, I heard about this and this. What's actually the best way to support you as an artist?" Like people ask that, which I think is fantastic. Um, but I think that it's good that there's a lot of different routes that people can choose now in order to have their work be out there.
And for example, there's another platform, and some musicians are joining that, which is Cameo or Cameo. I don't know how to pronounce, but this,
Cameo.
yeah. Have you thought about joining Cameo?
I've gotten the invitation, but it's basically where you record videos for people, right?
Yeah, it's something like, hey. Lucas or whatever. How are you? I wish you a happy birthday. I don't know,
Yeah,
something like
yeah,
that. I think.
yeah. Yeah, I've gotten the invitation, but I don't think that it's my thing necessarily. Like, I do some videos for certain tiers in the Patreon, but I feel like um, I've chosen like, okay, I want to do so many for this amount of people, because I also there you have to find a balance. Like, I want to spend my time making music,
Yeah.
mostly, um, and I also feel with the videos. And I know that most people that I know that do these cameos, they do it very limited, because which I think is good, because the more you do, the less special it becomes, I guess. Um, but yeah, I've gotten some emails about it, but I don't think it really adds to what I'm doing at this point uh, within the Patreon.
Yeah. Okay. And well, today is International Women's Day, and I'd like to talk about some stuff about it. And first thing I would like to talk is that concept in music, or that I don't want to call it genre, but it's called like a genre, that female fronted bands, and your opinion about that word and then that concept.
I mean, it's a descriptive word, which I guess there's nothing wrong with the word itself. It only becomes weird when people use the word to describe a certain style of music, because the only thing that it says is that there is a woman. It's
Yeah.
like, beware, there is a woman, which to me is like, well, how is that relevant if you want to know what a band sounds like, if you want to know? Um, so I can imagine that for some people, if they want to get a feel about the type of music, that it is more useful to use a descriptor like, well, this is symphonic metal, this is thrash metal, this is black metal, this is. Um, so I don't think that it works in terms of describing a genre, because it's
Yeah.
quite it's quite there is like a little prejudice in it as well, because a lot of people will think, yeah, but if you say female fronted metal, then it's probably something symphonic, you know. And then there is that stigma of, well, if there's a woman there, then there's probably violins, it's probably melodic, and otherwise she wouldn't be there. And I think you and I both know that this luckily isn't the case these days. And then also, I also feel like it's just weird towards the other people in the group, because then the brand of the band becomes kind of like, forget about these guys, there is, and that's also weird. So yeah, once again, it is a descriptive term. Like, you cannot argue with the fact that if there's a woman in front of it, that it might be female fronted metal. But I am just wondering, why is this relevant?
No,
Why is
it is
there's a
not.
lot of yeah, there's a lot of symphonic metal bands that um because when we were in Dealing, we were called like a female fronted band all the time, and I always felt like, well, we have much more in common with, for example, a Camelot, which has a male singer, than a lot of the female fronted band that you're clumping us together with. So yeah, it's just, I think it's time to retire the word, honestly, because I don't think it's useful. I think there's some prejudice attached to it, and I think it's also, it's rude towards the other people in the band. Um, so yeah, that's my very unoutspoken opinion about it.
No, but I think almost the same. I mean, it doesn't matter if a man is singing or a woman is singing or is playing guitar or playing drums. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter the genre of the people who's playing. The main thing is the music or the art.
Exactly. And I've heard a lot of people say, like, in defense of the term, like, yeah, but I really like the type of bands that they usually mean, like with a woman who's singing very high. And I'm like, well, I can understand that, and there's nothing wrong with that. But you could also say, like, I like metal with a soprano singing. So it's like there is just yeah, there's words that are more descriptive towards the actual thing without kind of the unintended prejudice attached to it. Because I'm sure that most people who use the word don't mean any, like, I'm not upset with the word existing. I'm not upset with people using the word. But it's just,
Yeah,
it's silly to me. It's
I,
silly to me. Yeah.
I understand. And when you were on the lane, did you feel more pressure because you were a woman and you have all the eyes of the people uh, on on yourself? I mean, it's obvious that the front woman or the front man has more attention of the crowd because it's the front man of the front woman. But did you feel that just for being a woman, did you have more pressure?
You mean compared to the guys or compared to not being in the lane? Or
Compared to the guys?
I think it's a different kind of pressure. Like, I do think like you're right. There is usually like a discrepancy in which part of the bands get, which people in the band get what kind of attention. And there's a very specific kind of attention that the drummer gets, that the guitarist gets, that the keyboardist gets, that a singer gets. And it's different from each other. And I certainly feel like I got certain pressure that the others didn't. Like that's just simply how it is. Whether that is more pressure, I haven't been in their shoes. So I couldn't say. The only thing I can say is that, you know, there definitely is certain things, like there's the creeps, there is the managers labels that want you to look a certain way, act a certain way. There is the everlasting comparisons. There is, yeah, there is more expectancy to always act a kind of way and not have bad days, I feel. But like I said, like I haven't been in their shoes, so it kind of feels unfair to make a comparison with them. But if there is pressure at all, yeah, there certainly is. From being a front person um, is different than from being, you know, any other part of the band, I guess. And yeah, and I think that being a woman in like, I mean, I can beat around the bush, but like my following on my socials is like 80% dudes, so it's yeah. So that also has a certain vibe with it. Um, but like, I'm not here to complain about that vibe, but I feel like the best way to challenge that is through what you do and the work that you put out, and maybe also the things that you don't do. Yeah, I feel better calling out bad behavior when it's there than making general complaints about being a woman in the scene. Yeah.
And have you felt sometime that you have to prove yourself as a singer or as a musician more than, for example, another man in the band or in another band with the same role like you?
Well, one thing that always was weird to me is that at metal festivals, for examples, you would sometimes get, oh no, we already have a band with female vocals. And then I was like, so how many bands with male vocals do you have on this festival? What is this?
Yeah.
We're not like a category that you can have only one of. Like these kind of things are, or like the comments like, did we really need another female fronted? And I was like, and those kind of things are weird because then they automatically kind of, pin you against the other vocalist. And also the internet loves drama. So they love to pretend like we're having cat fights, while I can only say that there's like a great sense of camaraderie in the metal scene in general, like not just within, the women, but I feel like in general, but yeah, amongst the women as well. So
Yeah, I guess.
yeah.
Inside the music industry, have you had some bad or weird situations uh, just for being a woman?
Well, several, like the ones I just mentioned, the entire idea that, there can only be one, or there can only be two, or we already have one of these, where it's like, I feel like if you like a certain style of music, the more the better,
Yeah, but for example, with labels or with managers or something like that, maybe uh, using your how you look to I don't know to get a better position with the band, or I don't know the what kind of bad situation, but what do you remember when you think about bad situations in the music industry just for being a woman?
Well, they have been there. They have been there, and there's been several occasions that I've spoken about several times already as well. Like, with We Are the Others. There's been photo shoots where I got my photos back, and they were all photoshopped, and my legs were this skinny, and it was like, that's not my body, you guys. And I started calling around, like, who ordered this, and it was basically the label and the management pointing at each other and saying, hey, if you don't allow photoshopping on your body, you will have a problem with your label. It was right. And I remember similar guys, by the way. Um, Also just kind of a continuous pressure to present more feminine, text while we're doing photo shoots, like more skin, um, which I responded to by shaving half of my head. It's like, more skin. Yeah. So there's there's definitely been occasions. There's been several occasions. It's the ideas of femininity. On the one hand, it's the ideas about how one should use their sexuality, but I do feel like there there were attempts to put pressure on me, like a quote like, if you don't allow this, you will have a problem with. But I think it's good for women to realize their power, because in the end, I called a photographer and I was like, can you please reverse this? He was like, yeah, and I will not do it on your other photos. Did I get in trouble with the label or the management? No. They're just trying to say that to, but you do have to power yourself. And I feel like, if there were to be an advice to maybe younger women in the industry who feel like they kind of have to follow up on every advice that they get, because, how else are they going to make it? No, no. That's not how it works. Not all advice you get is good. Not all pressure that you get is good. You get to make those choices yourself. But yeah, those things were nasty. And it's also like, I don't mind like answering a lot of these questions right now, because it's International Women's Day, and this is kind of also the moment to discuss this. But I also feel that in general, I get asked a lot about being a woman in a certain scene. Like, I spend a lot of my time talking about this, where I could or should maybe also be talking about, my music, or the way you compose, and I feel like women spend a lot of time setting things straight, whereas men just get to talk about their work and their art, which also kind of feels unfair. Like,
Yeah.
so this is also something. And like I said, it's not nothing about now, but it's just a general thing where, when I started out, I noticed people were asking me like, how do you do your hair? And then they asked the guys, how do you write a song? And I was like, this
Yeah.
feels weird.
Yeah, I mean, we shouldn't be having this kind of conversation, but the
Yeah, but
thing is, we are in the
it's
world we
relevant.
are, and
Yeah,
today is International Women's Day, and
yeah,
maybe today is I mean, no, maybe not. I mean, not today. March 8th shouldn't be the day to speak with women. I mean, every day is a good way to speak with an artist. It doesn't
yeah,
matter if he's a man or she's
yeah,
a woman, but yeah, absolutely, it's totally
yeah,
right what you're saying, because we've been talking about music and
yeah.
how you used to work before, but now these kind of questions just happen with women, and they,
Yeah,
they,
and
they
like I
shouldn't
said,
be. Yeah.
it's totally in its place today. But if I were to reflect on the past 16 years and the amount of time that you talk about these kind of things, and it's very relevant, so I also don't want to decline it, but it's still, I feel like it's time that, and that's also why I'm happy that you, for example, are hosting these interviews, and it's not just women inviting women because it's Women's Day. Like, I feel like, if you're talking about basically in any kind of situation, if things are about sexism, it's not just a work of women to set that straight. You need everyone to do that kind of work. But that's, putting it in a very general perspective. Um, yeah. So, but yeah, you just still find it everywhere. I was talking about it a while ago, also about, compositions, for example. Uh, when I was still indie lane, a lot of people thought that, I only wrote the lyrics maybe, and in the beginning I thought, oh, maybe that's just how we projected ourselves, maybe it's something that we did. Um, but even after 16 years, I still see comments every now and then. I know I shouldn't read comments, but I still see comments every now and then, like after the split of the band, where people are like, oh, who cares? Martijn just wrote everything. So, and that's kind of weird. And in the beginning, I thought, okay, maybe that's something that is, just our little group here. But when I did like, a side project with Phantasma 2015, kind of a similar thing happened when the reviews came in, and everyone was like, "Oh, Charlotte sang really nicely, and these dudes composed it really well." And I was like, "Wait, so it's not just us; it's a general thing." And even now that I'm doing like all of the things basically myself, I only outsource the mix and master. And
But even now, you are in your own project.
even if I own, like, people still like, every now, the other day I saw someone complimenting my mixer for the song writing, and it was like, I have a fantastic mixer and masterer. Like, he deserves all of the compliments that come his way. His name is Guido Albers. He's done all of my, solo songs so far. He's fantastic. But a mistake like that, or like a mix-up like that, has never happened before, and it's just really weird. It's sometimes I feel like people are just rolling through the credits, and it's like, oh, that's a woman. That can't be right. Ah, a dude. It's, yeah. It's
That has to be awful. I mean, if I could do in a known project, and someone says me, "Oh no, it's not made by you," I would I would be angry because of that.
Yeah, you can be angry about it, but like, I thought a lot about it, in the last months, because
I mean, I don't have many followers as you. Maybe it could be
no,
one
no, no,
one person.
no, but it's, I've been thinking about it a lot, and I've been thinking about, how much of my motivation to do everything myself is actually to try to prove myself, because I don't think that that's um, you cannot fix this just by trying to do everything yourself. It's a broader problem than that. And I think the very fact that I still have this kind of thing right now kind of proves that you're not going to fix it by doing everything by yourself. So, but just these kind of considerations, I think that these are the kind of considerations that maybe if I was not, maybe, okay, I don't know. I don't know. I'm thinking out loud, but maybe if I were a dude, I wouldn't have felt this kind of pressure of like, I have to do everything myself or they will feel that someone else did it for me.
Yeah, I understand. And
Yeah.
that's bullshit. It shouldn't happen.
Yeah.
I mean,
And I mean,
you have
it
a
turns
brain
out that I
and I
like
have a
doing
brain.
everything by myself, but it's still, yeah. Um, it shouldn't be your motivation, it shouldn't be your motivation to try and set these kind of things straight. So I'm trying to be very aware of like, what are my motivations and why am I doing the things that I'm doing the way that I'm doing them.
Yeah.
To also let go of certain pressure that is not absolutely necessary.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if I could be doing your songs, you have a brain, I have a brain, I have two eyes, you too.
Mm.
I mean, we are the same, but with different bodies, no more.
Yeah. Yeah, it's yeah, like you say.
And the last thing I would like to talk, it's a very different topic. But you
That's
told me
fine.
last time you have a lot of plants in your house.
Yes.
Do you still have a lot of plants? Do you have more, less, or how many?
So the amount of plants in my house have stabilized. There's still a couple of hundreds, I think.
Couple of hundred.
Yeah.
Okay.
But also counting like very small plants. So, um, no, it has kind of stabilized because I want to take really good care of them, and I get really sad when a plant dies. So at one point I told myself I should not get any more plants because you know they yeah, sometimes if I feel like a plant is not doing well and it's not in the right position or it doesn't get enough light or it doesn't get enough humidity, I will stress out about it. And it was like, no, this is a thing that's supposed to calm me down. It's not a thing that's supposed to give me stress. So yeah, no, but they're doing great. I'm very excited that it is now the end of the winter season because these past few months is kind of the months where plants, especially here in the Netherlands, where everything is very dark and gray, they get really sad and they start to drop some leaves, and you're like, oh my God, is it ever going to be okay? So I think that in a month or so, there will be some new growth, and I'm very excited about the new growth and seeing everything come back to life. I it's maybe weird, but um, the winter months, like I like December because of the festivities, but after that, I just want to go straight to spring because just watching everything grow and having the plants in my garden and growing some vegetables, growing some flowers, and watching my plants thrive, like it really gets me excited. This thing where you wake up in the morning and you get downstairs and boom, there's a new leaf on this plant. Like it's it gives me so much endorphins. Like it's so exciting. And then especially like at the end of the season where you get to actually eat the things that you've been growing out of your garden is like it's not going to save the world, but it does get me really excited. So
Yeah, that's the point. And how much time do you spend per day with the plants?
oh, not so much because I've by now like I do pick my plants, and I feel like some plants can even be trained. So you don't have to water them every day. And especially in the winter, you don't have to water them too much. But I just, if I'm on a phone call or something, I will just go around watering them. And I will only do, like, I only repot them like once every 2 years or something. And if I see a dead leaf, I will just snip it off. If I do like a full round of watering, yeah, it takes me a little bit, but it's not more time than someone would spend like walking their dog once or something, it's not hardly as time consuming
Okay.
as you would think.
Okay, okay. But as you said, that you have a couple of hundreds. I was like, I mean, I don't have a plan, and if I would have one, maybe I would spend a lot of time just for it.
Yeah,
So if
yeah.
you have hundreds, it has to be
Yeah, but it's also
crazy.
like I have a lot of succulents, which are like the little small plants that usually live in the desert. So I just put them in a bright space, and then don't, and then I leave them alone and I neglect it. And then once a year, I kind of drown them in water, and they thrive on neglect and then over carrying. Yeah, it's weird. Also, I don't know if a couple of hundred is kind of what it is in spring. At this point, it's probably a little less because, like, from I don't know who this is interesting to, but anyway, like right
Today,
now, I don't
plants.
have as many plants. Yeah, because usually at the end of February, beginning of March, I start growing the little vegetable plants, and those are a couple of dozens, and then you thin them out, and then you put a couple in the garden, but these are actually the months because you start growing them in February, and then September, October is kind of the end of the season. So between October and February is probably a little less plants because all the yearly plants. There are some plants that just spend years, but there's also plants that you just have for 1 year. They they are gone now, which is why I'm sad.
So well, try not to be so sad because of the plants, because now we are in spring, so they will
Yes,
grow and be
yes,
very amazing and beautiful.
I think so.
So well, Charlotte, thank you very much for your time. It's been a pleasure again, and well, good luck for your show in October. You know that you can buy the tickets for the show. I don't know which is the venue, but it's quite big, so you will have enough space to have fun. But you have to buy the ticket.
Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of Women's Day. Thanks for having me, and to everybody interesting, all of the things that we talked about are at charlottewessels.nl. So thank you very much, and I hope that you have a great day, and I look forward to the next time that we speak.
Yeah, let's see when we can speak again. But during this time, be happy.
Will do. Will do. Thanks so much.
So thank you. Goodbye.
Bye bye.